General. I can see the top of your head. We'll be ducking and diving here. Thank you, Chair. General, I'm going to jump straight into it. The first question is specifically regarding institutional stability and leadership. Yesterday, especially, you touched quite significantly on leadership models and challenges, that have been experienced over the years. And you specifically remarked that SAPS is continuously being restructured and that such restructuring is never completed. Has the frequent change in national commissioners contributed to that instability? I call it instability. We may call it something else, but I think you gather what the gist of my statement is. And which, if any, of the national commissioners that you know of have actually served a full term? I'm going to add a second question. Chair, is it fine if we do two questions again as earlier? And the second one is, what reforms would you suggest to secure leadership continuity and ensure that operational successes, like some of the ones that you've used examples from the PKTT, are not disrupted by changes at the top?
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Honourable Chair, honourable members. The institutional instability in the organization, the causes of that, I like to believe that it's mainly because of the ever-changing national commissioners that we've had over time in the organization. And I think it started when Commissioner Silebi left. And I did an introduction, honorable chair members. You will recall that you are working on a national development plan as you are here in Parliament, which is supposed to be rolled out. And one of the recommendations in that plan talks about the demilitarization of the South African Police Service. So back in the days, the focus was about demilitarization of the police by introduction of the new ranks, and we changed our training curriculum and so forth, amongst other things, in order to change how we do business. Although the criminal did not necessarily change the method of operations, but we had to try and fit into the democratic system of the country. So when that change happened in 2009, we had a new administration that was ushered in, and the new administration felt that the ranks that you are using are not strong enough to withstand the crime that is out there. And as a result, Honourable Chair, with your permission, maybe I should ask Honourable Mwango to enjoy the seat so that I can be able to see the Honourable Member that we are responding to, because he's not visible. If we enjoy the seat and sit back, yeah, that will do. Thank you so much.
Let me do like this. Honourable Mwango, may I request you to occupy the seat next to Honorable Shikela. You will come back so that there can be direct eye contact between the speaker and the witness. And thanks very much for your understanding. Honorable members, maybe before you resume, Honorable Shongwe, when you don't see him here, he's out on an emergency. He will rejoin us. We have also been joined by Honorable Matangu, who is a member of the National Assembly. Thank you so much. Back to you, Honorable Camera.
I was still saying, Honorable Chair, that the frequent changes that happened and also the political changes that happened brought about this. You had, as I said, when the National Commissioner came in 2009 with the new administration that came in, there was this introduction of these military ranks. Today we have, I'm failing to count the number of generals. I think we are the ones who got the record number of generals that we have in the organization. And in the true sense of things, that the Constitution doesn't talk about the rank general. It talks about commissioners. But because of the will at the time that the executive changed that and amended the regulations, and introduced these titles of generals, which honestly, if you were to ask me, I'll rather be called a provincial commissioner than be called a general. It's a military term that we should be using. It's some of the things that perhaps we might want to start looking at as going forward. But those, I think, contributed in such a manner that you have this then National Commission coming in. The Act gives powers to the National Commission to restructure. Before the restructuring is finalized, it's gone. You know how Gerald Cele left, how long he was in the police. Gerald Pierre comes in. Well, I came in to act at the time. It was on an acting capacity, not permanent, but then Gerald Pierre came in and she didn't last. There were issues and she left. So each time one comes in and there's a structure is adjusted again. But the process of finalizing the structure takes long as well. It's something that should have been looked at differently to try and shorten the plan. But perhaps anyone who comes in as a national commissioner ought to have a strategy in the plan that maybe within the prescribed timelines, such a plan may need to be presented to the portfolio committee of police and be approved and adopted, and which must then be accompanied by the structure, so that once it's agreed there, then the structuring happens. Within the first 12 months, it must be finalized, so that at least you know for the rest of the term of that administration, you have a structure that is adjusted to fit a strategy that has been presented and approved and be adopted by government going forward. So those are some of the things that I feel perhaps we might want to look at adjusting as part of the reforms that could help us. But some of the things, as I said, the national commissioners that came after Gerald Cele did not last long. And there's not even a single one of them that has finished the term. So we've had acting new national commissioner, acting new national commissioner, acting new national commissioner. So it's always been changing. And largely that is influenced by I spoke earlier about how the ministers move. The new one moves out, comes in, and the new one is out. There's no exchange of notes, nothing. Same with the police. The new national commission is gone, the other one takes over, they don't talk. There's no handing over certificate. That which we are lectured on in terms of handing over, we don't do that at that level. So as a result, you have a new national commission coming in and starting things afresh, especially because the law empowers the president to appoint a woman or a man without prescribing the skills and qualifications that a person must have. So if you're going to get someone who's not familiar with policing, it's going to take you that long for that person to try and understand what is the need of a constable on the ground before you can address that. And we worry about positions at the senior level around our offices and the likes. That's part of the problem that we have. So if you were to ask me about some reforms that you might look at, I spoke about one in my statement, that I think it's time that we revisit the Constitution as this Parliament of GNU might want to revisit the Constitution, the section of the Constitution that talks about the central command and control of the police. Let this national commissioner be held accountable for, yes, reports will come from province, as the Department of Education will do, but each province is held accountable for the performance of education in that province through the MEC's office. The Minister of Education will come and release results in the country as a whole, and yet the minister is not necessarily directly in control of what's happening in a specific province. We might want to adopt something similar to that. It's across different departments, but reserving a certain priority of crimes that cuts across the board that might need to then be elevated as a national priority crimes that be handled at the national level. So by so doing, you're going to also have a national commissioner having to worry up and prioritize his energy on specific things than to look after this entire big Titanic that we have as an organization. Typical example, honorable chair and members, you have a department of government that has got a DG, it's got DDGs, and there's so many DDGs per personnel that they have, which is a department that regulates how public service should work. The department itself, from public service themselves, they've got so much senior management amongst them. If you take that and balance it with the police and the responsibility of the National Commission, the police, it's almost impossible to manage. It's impossible. So it's about time that we decentralize a lot of things so that National Commission can focus on what the national government priorities should be and focus on that. So I think that is the main one that I thought I must put in there. But other than that, there are some pieces of legislations that are vested with the minister's office, which to some degree, I think might also need to be revisited. Some of them, Farm Control Act as an example. Once there's a corruption at the Farm Control Office in Pretoria, it's going to affect the entire country because that office is not able to improve efficiency in terms of how to facilitate licenses and is not able to deal with people that are violating the act in terms of removing the licenses away from them. So simple because you have the whole country to worry about. But if that was given to a province, then the province will worry about that. The liquor, we have a National Liquor Act, we have provincial ones. So the provinces that really pay attention on their Liquor Act, they have better controls on it, on how the sales of liquor is done in different provinces. But the national liquor is still there because it regulates this shipment of big liquor outside the country, things coming into the country. It focuses on those, whereas the provincial legislations are looking at things that are happening within the province. So whilst in the police you want to decentralize and be able to control in a smaller scale at the national office on some of things that you need to focus on as the police, but there is also some piece of legislation that might need to be reviewed that will allow the police to be able to perform their task better. And I believe if we do those things, it might create some stability within the management of the police.
Thank you, General. General, just as a matter of interest, I just made a note. Of all of these Lieutenant Generals, you actually mentioned it earlier as well. All of these Lieutenant Generals, I think you said there are 10 or 11 of them at head office. How many of them are actually career police officers that came through the ranks? Because it feels to me, and going on the way that you explained it earlier, that we can actually save a lot of money that could go to the provinces to assist in ground level policing. But we've got this top heavy office, head office, call it head office, where I'm not so sure that it's making a significant contribution.
Yeah, well, honorable members, I'm not sure of the numbers. I'll be under correction, but by and large, those that are within the support environment, which carries the big numbers at the head office, the majority of them are professionals that came to the service without necessarily having to grow within the police. But you might find maybe in the provinces similar thing happening. But I think the challenge that we are having with regard to these numbers that we have, again, is the power that is vested to the National Commission by the Act. The National Commission can create a post and grade it to whatever level they want to grade it, and they appoint a person there. So we've moved from 2 deputies to 3 deputies to 5 deputies and back to 3 deputies. We moved from 2 divisions to 10 divisions. So we just divide the cake as we want. You divide to create a post. Our organizational development with qualifications that they have, they're not independent enough to tell us that you're not supposed to, cannot have this, because the budget doesn't allow it, the purpose and function and the workload of this job does not qualify this. But you're going to find the organizational development will tell you that, yeah, it's justifiable in terms of our tool to have a brigadier at the head office responsible for 2 people appointed as a brigadier versus a commander of OR Tambo Airport who's responsible for 1,000 members. Durban Harbour is responsible for 1,000 members, but it's a brigadier as well. OD will tell you that, and you can't argue with them. And we always say to them, you are not objective in what you do. You are doing it because the boss tell you he wants that block. So, honorable members, that controls in terms of the structure, if it's still vested with the National Commission, then we have a problem. Gerald Stoller signed the structure on what I drafted on my iPad as a proposal. When I walked out the door, the unions came in, the structure was signed on the day, according to my proposal. That's why today we have a division called Vispol and Operations, because I'm the one that proposed that we might want to come up with something like this. Said, no, I like it. You put it in structure, sign it. Without research, without doing anything, and it's implemented. So those are typical examples. So Parliament does not play a role in terms of controlling the structure. So maybe we might want to revise that, say, before you have the structure finalized, yes, you can engage with the Labour and everyone else, but bring it to Parliament and it must be supported by your strategy. And then we can look at the money, total budget of what goes to compensation and versus what goes on operations and what goes to the executive versus what goes, because the cost of one lieutenant general in the police, beside the annual package of one individual salary, you have the support staff with you. So you spend at least easy 5 million rand per annum for one person. And add the furniture, the vehicles, the running cost of the office, it amounts to a lot of money. But those are things you don't pay attention on. So when you then ask yourself, is there need of that office? When you realize that, no, actually there's no need of that office. You can do without it. Okay. But because someone we come from a time where the National Commission decided to have the head of communication at the Lieutenant General level. And it's been downgraded again. You're going to find another one who's going to upgrade something, and another one coming in and downgrade. It depends who's a friend that wants to be entertained at the time.
Okay. All right. Thank you, General. General, I want to move to the famous 5 March meeting. I laughed the other day. I went and watched it again on YouTube, and I saw it's probably one of the highest watched parliamentary portfolio committee meetings in a long while. You've said that the PKTT was highly effective. We've seen a lot of the results. On that day, General Khumalo spoke about it as well. The National Commissioner touched on it. Just in terms of the 5 March meeting, General Khumalo and Minister Mkhwanazi briefed Parliament on the PKTT's phase out and its successes. They presented it. We've all seen the presentation. But there was no objection from General Khumalo or anyone else for that phasing out. The way that the minister presented himself and the way that the National Commissioner concluded matters when we spoke made it difficult to see that there's a disagreement about the disbanding of the political killing task team. No one in the committee that I'm aware of said, no, wait a minute, there's a chaotic conflict going on here. What was the situation at the time? Because all of the messaging seemed aligned.
Honorable Chair and honorable members, and I must thank you first, honorable member, for allowing me the opportunity to appear before the Portfolio Committee. Honorable members, a normal culture is that the Portfolio Committee is going to write through the minister to the National Commissioner and inviting the police to come and appear before them to present whatever the Portfolio Committee wants them to be presented. But in this case, I personally contacted the Honorable Chair of the Portfolio Committee and requested that he please, if there's a meeting coming up, he must invite me because I need to speak about certain things that are troubling me, that are affecting the organization. So he tried that meeting, I think it was early as February, if I'm not mistaken, and there was something that happened and it had to be postponed to March, and eventually we met on the 5th of March. So we would have met earlier than that. So I was not part of the development of the presentation. I did not even know, because it was not shared with me, the presentation that was present. I was shocked to sitting in my office and I see here they are agreeing with what the minister is saying. And to me, it was disturbing, but I couldn't say anything because it's coming from my boss. That means my boss is in agreement with what the minister is saying. So he is the National Commission. If he decides, so it goes. I can't stop it. But the appearance before the committee, I agree with the honorable member that at the time when the presentation was made, the Minister of Police was in support of this winding down plan that was proposed. And the National Commission is the one who came with the proposal of this winding down plan. So therefore, I wouldn't have expected the committee to do anything about it because it was just an information sharing for noting. I don't think it was for the committee's decision, that one. The only one that for me, which perhaps some of the things being viewed the most, is my comment on it, where my part came in. I think my expectation on that one, Honorable Chair and members, is that I've hinted on the involvement of players outside the police, people that are in position of sensitive things. I introduced the problems that existed in 2011 going forward. I was expecting a follow-up from there, to say, you can't come here before South Africans, because Parliament is South Africa. So when we appear there, I thought I'm now reaching South Africans, whereas we are visual, everyone else can watch this thing live, and there's going to be some movements on it, and nothing happens. And so I was kind of, demoralized in a way that the place where I thought is going to make us to do something, nothing much happened. To be honest, Honorable Chair, the member of the very same portfolio committee that the Honorable Chairperson of portfolio committee knows very well, Mr. Adams, I don't know if he's here today, but his response on that day was clear to everyone that he cared less about what Khumalo is presenting. He cared more about the narrative he's pushing. He's the one that's been behind this promotion or the appointment of this young lady into the post of a brigadier in the police. When it was put in that very same meeting that Gerald Khan, his blue-eyed boy, was promoted without advertising a post from a rank of a colonel to a major general, without advertising a post. And there's no talk about that. But you want to criticize this one.
So, sorry, General, interrupting. I think General Masemola also said that included General Moodley as well.
That was mentioned. But you would expect that the members to pause and say, wait, this appointment of this girl is not the only thing. Let's look at the entire problem. But because they were so focused on their plan, they ignored whatever that was presented and they focused on what they're doing.